Africa has amazing wind resource, but we're only tapping 0.01% of our 59,000 gigawatt potential. Right now, the installed capacity of wind power in Africa is 7 gigawatts, and I think we can do a lot better. I think that's something that we can increase, and that's also something that's going to help us with achieving our sustainable development goals. So in order to really get where we need to get in terms of renewable energy and wind capacity installed, we're nowhere near where we need to be. A few things stand in the way of development. One is finance. So there's a lot of money ready to finance bankable projects, but there's not that many bankable projects, and that's for a myriad of issues, including policy, including finding the actual technical support that is needed on the continent, and also the enabling environment by different governments across Africa. So that is what's causing the problem. There are places that do stand out. We do know South Africa has a great wind power market, and so they also have a lot coming up in the pipeline, but even that has been a challenge. Kenya, which has the biggest wind farm on the continent, is also a key standout, but we know also the challenges there with PPAs and with policy and with government. So there's been a lot of key standouts, but I don't think we're shining as brightly as we should, to use the pan. Yeah, thank you. What needs to change on the continent is we need repetitive deals. We need to be able to easily replicate wind power deals across the continent at a large scale. And we're not able to do that at the moment. We're not able to do that because there's a lot of policy irregularities, there's a lot of differences in the processes, it's very opaque in terms of the process for developing wind power on the continent. So if we're able to change that, have very clear policy, have very clear processes, have an easy way to access financing, an easy way to access technical support, that is what's really going to increase the deployment of wind across the continent. Some of the lessons that we can learn overseas, mainly from Europe, countries such as Denmark, who have over 50% wind power in their grids, we can learn that wind power, despite its intermittency, can still be a great supporting or great baseload for wind power in Africa. And so one of the issues that people have been having is that the grids are not strong enough to be able to take or to evacuate the wind from the wind farms into the grids. And so for us to be able to really take advantage of this great wind resource, we need to also upgrade the grids to make sure that they're able to evacuate the power. And a lot of people, governments, say that wind power is not good for their grids, but the issue is that the grids are not good enough for the wind being evacuated. So I think that's something that we need to look at. It's a case of chicken and egg, but it's something that we need to solve to be able to really to really use this potential. In order to have a robust system that really accesses all Africans on the continent, we certainly need to look at microsystems such as mini-grids and other systems that help decentralized renewable energy get to the actual consumer on the ground. So we do need to look at a few different options, not just grid power, not just wind onto the grid, but also at mini-grids that use wind power and solar power. And the complementarity of them is also amazing. So we need to also take that into account and say that we want to have 100% renewable energy to 100% of Africans on the ground. A thriving local wind industry means there's a lot of locals working on projects on the ground. There's a large local content element, so a lot of our operations and maintenance, a lot of our wind sourcing and resource mapping is done by locals. So we have a lot of jobs created on the ground for people in Africa. And I think for me, that's what I would see as a successful locally based wind industry. I think at the moment it's very difficult because technology right now comes from abroad, but that's okay. We still have other components within the whole wind development system that can be done locally and can be complemented with the international technology that we receive. The Africa Wind Power Initiative, launched by GWEC and supported by Get Invest, is one that I hope to see increase the deployment and development of wind power across the continent. I think at the moment, a lot of governments don't have, or a lot of people who work in ministries of energy across the continent don't have information about wind power. So they think it's too hard. And so if we can show and give information, we can connect them to the right people, the right financiers, we can show them that wind is actually a great opportunity for them in their energy mix. I think that will increase the deployment of wind across the continent, and for me, that would be a success. Some of the jobs that wind power comes with on the continent is resource mapping. We have a lot of technicians, so the people who actually build the wind turbines or put them together. We have people who maintain, so the operations and maintenance of the wind turbines themselves. We have security. We have community liaison officers. There is a lot of jobs that come with wind that are not necessarily the actual design or making or manufacturing of the turbine blades or the turbine itself. The message that I would have for young people looking to enter the wind energy industry is to keep looking at the opportunities that are there within your country. I know it's difficult right now when a lot of countries are not even looking at deploying wind power or have a threshold of 10% renewable energy in their total energy mix. But wind is the future. This is where youth thrive in technology, in new technologies across the continent. So if you're able to study it, if you're able to learn more about wind, even just as an interest, I think it's a great industry to be in. And if you are young like I am, I think it's something that will also help you shine and stand out in your industry. So if the more, the merrier, I think. So let's get more youth in the wind energy industry in Africa.